We are live. We are live. Welcome back to For Evans Sake Daily. It's Monday. It's the start of the week. My name is Neodate Evans.
And I'm Nana Evans.
And we bring you the news from a parenting perspective. In today's show, we're going to be talking about cost of living Christmas debt, the shooting in Houston, and new police powers to curb protests. And of course, not forgetting our parenting conundrums. So, Christmas has come and gone, but there is a stench in the air, and that stench is the smell of debt. So the charity StepChange did a poll for the BBC, and they found that a third of respondents who used credit to help them get through the Christmas and the holiday season said that they were not confident about their ability to repay. What is it about Christmas that makes people lose their mind?
It's crazy though, because it felt like this year people weren't doing that. We had quite a few months of just cost of living crisis. So you thought people wouldn't get into debt for Christmas. But the fact that that's still a thing, and you know how inflation is, that's wild. And I don't remember seeing those adverts, I think it's called like Park or something.
Yeah. So when you're saving for the year.
Yeah. That seems to have kind of stopped now. So I guess there are some people that really do go all out though and get lots of presents, especially for their kids. But that's worrying, because on top of everything else, to go into debt for Christmas, essentially one day, madness.
Yeah, I mean, I always struggle with this because I've never really been the greatest Christmas person anyway. But it really is the logic behind it. And especially when you sit down, you watch television, you walk on the streets, you see the posters, and you see the relentless onslaught of advertising of people just trying to take your money and making you feel like you need these things in order to have a Christmas.
A good Christmas.
Yeah, and it's not even that.
Let's spend everything that we have so that we're broke for the rest of the year. It's mad, but yeah, people have to have some type of control though, because if you're going into January, you're in debt, and it's taking you months to pay off what you spent just for Christmas, up to years.
It's
how
crazy.
much were people? Is there any figures on how much people generally go into debt for Christmas?
No, there's not. But what is interesting, so the last point, it says many turn to credit at an expensive time of the year because they have little in savings. A quarter of UK adults have less than £100 set aside in savings, leaving people vulnerable to rising and unexpected bills. And I think that is also a really, really massive problem, is the one of savings. And it's, to be fair, saving money is something that I've struggled with for such a long time. But to know that there's so many people who are also going through the same thing, but still are unable to cut their cloth accordingly. But we are a credit nation.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who lives and works a friend of ours who lives and works in Ghana now, he was telling me about some of the work that he was doing out there, and he was talking about the people who were investing in the country, and a lot of them were coming from Dubai and China and other places in Europe. And when asked, then he asked this guy, was like, are there not people from the UK investing? And the guy laughed.
Yeah.
And he said, people in the UK are not serious. They do not have real money. Everything they have is on credit.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sad that this is becoming what we're known for as a nation. This is our identity. Yeah.
There definitely does seem to be less money circulating in the UK than other places. And, the last couple of years, it hasn't improved. And who's going to say that it is going to improve? Like the pandemic and Brexit, and no, there doesn't seem to be this magical new type of reality we're going to have in leaving Europe. Like that hasn't seemed to have manifested itself. So
I think the only thing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, so I'm thinking back to when Tony Blair's Labour came back in, and then we kind of had the upsurge in the economy.
Yeah.
And I feel like now that's the only possible thing on the horizon that could change our fortunes, so to speak.
It's that that upsurge to take place.
Yeah.
But they said that was going to happen with Brexit.
Yeah,
That somehow some new investors.
But we all knew that was never going to happen.
So I don't know when, if, or how, but something needs to give, because that's really sad news. That on top of everything else, people went into serious debt for Christmas.
Yeah. But also, I mean, a lot of what we've just said has kind of been aimed at the government, but individuals really need to be so much more responsible.
Definitely.
Definitely. I know it's hard because, we are bombarded with all of these things, but there's just
non-stop.
The ability to say no to your children, to wider members of your family, and also it's rooted in ego and shame.
Yeah.
Because having to tell family members, actually, we're doing a really small Christmas this year, or what have you, then you feel like you're admitting that we're poor or we don't have any money, and it's not that. It's just it is what it is.
Most people don't actually care.
Most people are probably going through the same thing that you're going through, and would be grateful for you to be the one that kicks off the conversation.
To be like, let's just do it small. Yeah, exactly. But everybody's feeding into the same thing. But really, if you just look around you, most people don't care what's really going on in your lives anyway. So it's just, there's no point in getting into debt though. No, you can do things more. You can still have a lovely time. Food, family around. It doesn't always have to be around presents.
I am, so at the end of this month, I'm putting some money away because, as I said before, I've never really been a Christmas person, and I would love to. The last time I experienced Christmas not in this country, I think I was probably 14 years old, and I was in Ghana. But I'd love for us as a family to go away for Christmas. I think that, to me, makes way more sense of just being able to have that downtime as a family, not getting caught up in all of the Christmas hoo-ha, and ultimately, it'll work out cheaper.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. So, the next story is a really sad one. So there was a drive-by shooting.
Imagine.
A drive-by shooting in Houston. But luckily, a man has been arrested, only 22 years old. A 22-year-old. I'm thinking about this story, and the other thing that's popping into my mind is, wasn't London just awarded City of the Year or?
Yes, London was awarded City of the Year. It was actually for the 7th year running that we got that award. Yeah, I know.
How?
But the shooting details though, because how many people was it? It was
so four women. So five in total. So 4 women and a 12-year-old girl. So that's 6. So because there's a 7-year-old who's in a critical but stable condition in hospital, and then there were 4 women plus a 12-year-old who were also injured in the incident. So the shooting, I cannot pronounce the name of the church.
St. Aloysius.
So the shooting occurred outside St. Aloysius Church in Houston, where shots were fired from a moving vehicle just as the service had finished and people were filing out because they were going to release doves.
Yes.
And so as you're reading,
this is literally just outside of the church, going past this funeral, just aimlessly shooting.
Yeah. It's insane. It's like it.
You expect this from America.
You expect it from America,
not
from here. Yeah. And Houston's an area where it's you actually get a lot of tourists. Around there,
because it's a huge station, and there's loads of people that will be travelling, coming out, going along that road. It's a big church as well.
It's a big church, and it was a big congregation. It was about 300 people in the congregation. And what was really sad, what adds another element of real sadness to this story, is that it was a memorial service for a mother and a daughter who had both passed away. So the daughter, who was just 20, had passed away from leukemia. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think it's been released what the mother had died from, but it was a month apart.
Yeah. Wow. And so it's incredibly sad, that in itself. But then to add this element, one can only speculate that perhaps there were people at the funeral.
Yeah, some type of gun element is what.
But the idea, and this is something that really upsets me, that you would have a beef with somebody to the point where not only would you risk so many other lives, you would be so callous as to do it at a funeral.
Again, it's like things that you hear in gangster movies.
Like it really, like I swear there's a scene like that from, what's the one that Damson's in? Snowfall.
Yeah.
There's a scene like that in Snowfall.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's a wild one.
Yeah, it's insane. So, police obviously still ongoing with their inquiries, appealing for any help, but I don't know what.
Hopefully whoever is involved in this, that, all gets uncovered anyway, because just as a grieving family as it is, and then you have this tragedy on top of it.
Yeah.
Luckily nobody was killed as well, but 2 people's injuries seem to be life-altering is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Oh.
But the young girl that's in hospital, I mean, and I can't even imagine the parents of that child, 7 years old. Her condition is still critical. Although she's stable, it's still critical. So she's not, out of the woods.
Wowzers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how your conscience allows you to sleep being a part of something like that.
Yeah.
But, best wishes and thoughts to everybody who's involved and hopefully,
Yeah, everybody has a successful and speedy recovery as well.
Moving on. So the police have been given new powers to curb protests.
Yes, so that went through then.
So the UK government plans to widen police powers to allow officers to shut down protests before they cause serious disruption. So it hasn't gone through just yet, but they're still planning it. The plans will be outlined in an amendment to the Public Order Bill, which will be introduced today, on Monday. So this bill is meant to crack down on disruptive protests from groups like environmental activists Just Stop Oil, Insulate Britain and Extinction Rebellion. The government says that changes will give police greater flexibility and clarity over on when they can intervene. Now, this is the best bit. It's a quote from our illustrious Prime Minister. So Rishi Sunak says, the right to protest is a fundamental principle of our democracy, but this is not absolute.
So, what he's saying is, you can protest to a point that we deem okay.
Yeah. So you can go, beep.
And if you go pom, that is not okay.
No.
And we're going to shut that down.
Any type of protest that actually looks like it may remotely stop what our intentions are, we're going to shut that down.
Yeah.
We're going to shut that down with the swiftness.
Because a protest,
it's supposed to be disruptive.
Exactly. That's the nature of it. So there has to be an element of disruptiveness to normal people's lives, or it's not effective.
He goes on to say that a balance must be struck between the rights of individuals and the rights of the hard-working majority to go about their day-to-day business. And I think what's really interesting about that statement is alluding to the fact that the people protesting are not hard-working individuals, when in fact the people protesting are exactly those same people.
Yeah.
They're protesting because they're hardworking and they're not being compensated for their hard work.
Well, it's the other side of, especially like Extinction Rebellion or the oil, it protests as well, and Insulate Britain as well protests. You're doing it for the majority. Yeah. You actually are being like, we are risking our liberty and our time, we're putting our time on the line for a better future for more people. That's what they're fighting for. So to be like, it's their individual wants, that's just dismissive and wrong.
Yeah. I think you really have to be really listening to the words that these people use, because they're really trying to make it look like, oh, not you. It's those people over there.
Yeah. And it's not that. They're doing it for our freedoms. Yeah. Like, big up to all of them that are really out there doing the protesting. Because, the environment is going to be an issue for all of us. Global warming, climate change is all going to be an issue for all of us. And they're trying to bring awareness.
And I will admit, I'm hugely conflicted because I'm just thinking back to, they call her Range Rover Mum. So it was a while ago when this mum was trying to take her son to school and can't remember which group it was, but they had sat in the road. And
I think that was Insulate.
Yeah. And so she was nudging the people in the road of her car, and she got in trouble for it. She didn't go to prison, but she got like a fine.
She got a fine. Yeah,
and what
I think she got banned as well.
And and I really, empathise with people in that situation, because life is hard enough as it is. Getting up, going to work, paying your bills and whatnot have you, and you get up in the morning. You get up on a Monday morning. It's raining, it's grey, it's dull, drizzly or whatever, and you just want to get on with your day. Yeah. And this is so annoying and so frustrating. And so I can quite easily understand from that point the annoyance. Yeah. And especially if you're somebody...
Partially. I do think she was wholly ignorant in her approach.
Yeah. She
could have gone round, but I get it. But we all have stresses and are tempered and all of that stuff, but her punishment was warranted because you just have to think what they were particularly protesting has come into fruition, and there are people dying and they cannot afford their heating bills and their homes are not adequately insulated, and this is why that's happening. And that's what they were really honing in on, is that the government had a responsibility to put insulation in homes that were not sufficiently insulated, and they were not doing that, and that's what they were protesting. So that she feels it's okay to nudge away people when effectively they're trying to hold the government accountable for something that they should have been doing.
But also, there needs to be another tact where you're hitting the people who are making the decisions more directly, rather than through regular people and using them as a proxy.
Well, you need voices. I wouldn't necessarily know of this issue if it wasn't for the protests to actually be like, this is a real issue. So,
but it's at what cost? Because
I get it. The cost it's the roads.
No. It's the personal cost I'm talking about. So I've had stories of people who have been unable to get to hospital to see a loved one dying or passing away. Stories of people missing out on job interviews. So it's the personal cost to people. And whilst they may not deny the cause that the other people are fighting for, it still doesn't detract from what you personally have lost.
Had to go through. Okay, yeah. I think it's part of the course of how it goes.
Until that personal cost is your own.
Yeah, definitely. But this is the nature of protesting, is to be disruptive.
Yeah, well, they may not be able to do that for much longer. So, I mean, it is, despite all of that, despite my misgivings for some of the things that they're doing, I still believe wholly that they actually should be able to do it. Yeah. And the idea that, because it's...
I guess you pivot round it either way. That they change it, they police it in a different way. You're going to find other ways to be disruptive in different ways. And maybe it is one of the things you just have to remove the protest from the roads. Yeah. And you place it somewhere else. And then it would be great. I mean, very hard to do, but if they just disrupted Parliament and MPs, then that would be a great way. But that place is so heavily policed with armed police. Yeah. You can't even get close to start a protest there. That's why they do the other bridges.
Or maybe the protests will go online. What's that online group where Anonymous. Yeah. So like another group like Anonymous popping up and just kind of shutting down certain things. Because if you
may take over.
Yeah, if you hit financially like that, that's gonna cause way more of a,
that may be I'm sure, everybody, they pivot. They pivot out of things. So.
I mean, if anybody's listening that's into that and you want to hack the government system so that they stop taking pay directly out of people's pay packets or anything like that, I'm sure the people would appreciate it. But yeah, so we'll see where that goes, and I mean, they probably will go ahead, but hopefully somebody somewhere will see sense and stop this. But I doubt it. So we have another...
let's get into it. Our parenting conundrum.
So, a young couple. They've got 3 children. And the husband, he works full-time. the mum, she's a stay-at-home mum, looking after the house, looking after the children.
Right.
When the husband has a day off, he likes to have a sleep in because he's been working all the time. It frustrates the mum, and she's kind of raised it with him, and they haven't been able to come to an amicable solution.
That he's sleeping in.
Yeah, because she was like, well, maybe I would like to sleep in as well. Sort of thing. She's always up with the kids and what have you. So they haven't kind of resolved that issue. But the biggest bugbear of this woman who's written in is that she always has to wake her husband up in the morning. So she's like, on top of waking up the children,
she has to wake him
I have to wake up my husband as well. And so they had a family trip planned out. Not just themselves as the nuclear family, but also the husband side of the family and the mum side of the family. They're all going to the beach. So as usual, she gets up, she gets the kids ready. But this morning she's like, I'm not waking him up.
I just can't.
Yeah, I just can't be arsed. He should be able to wake up.
He's got to learn.
You got to learn. So she doesn't wake him up, and she leaves, and she goes to the trip with the children, minus her husband. So naturally, she gets there. The husband's family is like, where's Dave? Yeah. And she's like, she didn't say exactly what she had done. She said something like, Dave isn't feeling well or something like that. So eventually Dave wakes up. Dave's like, where's my family? Dave calls his wife and is like, where are you? And she's like, we left. You didn't wake up. We left. So Dave is upset, naturally, has a go at her. Then Dave comes off the phone and calls his mum and is like, can you believe what Sarah has done? Yeah. And the mum and the rest of his family are furious at Sarah for doing this. Sarah's like, don't really care. And then goes off to have like a lovely day with her kids and her side of the family. And so she's now writing in asking, is she because she didn't wake up her husband. Now, she initially wrote this post, and then obviously due to probably some comments and whatnot have you, she was getting some questions.
She wanted to clarify. She
clarified a few points. And so she then further added that her husband had recently been diagnosed with depression. Okay, so he had recently suffered from depression. Right. Okay. And then she also added that actually generally he does help around the house and he's not a useless so-and-so.
Oh my God.
And I was surprised because even in spite of this, most of the people in the comment section were like, he's such a man baby. He's a grown man. He should be able to get up for himself. You've got kids already. You don't need another kid. And there was like no real compassion for this man. This man who is getting up every day, going to work for his family, is clearly tired from it. And then wants a line every now and again, has suffered or beaten depression, and you can't squeeze him.
Maybe she's just over it.
I think she absolutely is.
I get all of the reasons for him and his circumstances, but also a lot of women just trudge through and they are also depressed and also just barely coping. And she probably just had her point of, I cannot be arsed with this.
I think this is like a fundamental breakdown in communication because, she did say that they've kind of brought it up and there was no real resolution.
Being like, sometimes if you're saying to somebody, this is too much for me, but they're still doing it and expect you to still carry the load. Sometimes you're just going to be like, I can't this time.
But also sometimes that's not enough. So you can say to somebody, I'm feeling like this, what have you. But if neither of you are both sitting down to say, okay, cool, you're feeling like this. How can we approach life so that we can eliminate the way that you're feeling?
I don't know why they don't have an alarm, though. This just seems like a simple remedy to this issue is an alarm.
No, some people, and we live next door to them, can sleep through an alarm.
Loads, have a few that go off. Like, so...
No. That alarm next door will go off for like
I don't know that nobody's getting up. I have no idea what happens on the other side of hearing an alarm ring. I don't know what's going on. they literally could get up and just move to another part of the house, and maybe the alarm noise doesn't bother them. I don't know. But if this is just waking up business, like, have an alarm that will wake you up.
Yeah, it seems... The whole thing is so petty.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's so petty that it's so obvious that there's such a bigger issue at play here. So even if we just look directly at going to the beach, you probably just didn't want to go with him.
Because you're already sick and tired of it.
Yeah, because if you know that this guy won't wake up, like, you know he won't wake up. So
it's just a chore getting him up, and maybe if you get him up, he's going to be in a mood going, and you just be like, I actually don't want to deal with any of that. I want a really nice day out. He's sleeping.
Then say
so. He didn't even get up. I'm just going to go. It could be all of that, but marriages end for a series of little things and pettinesses that keep on going. And this is one of the things that it's like people do things like this to each other in succession, and then before you know it, they hate each other and are like, we can't sort this out. And you never get to the crux of it because it's lots of little silly pettiness. Yeah. To me, this is really stupid. But again, it's a symptom. Yeah. There's other stuff going on, and it could literally just be both sick and tired of the situations. For him as well, the not waking up, having a bout of depression. There's more to unpack to it. But this is an unnecessary petty though.
But then also as well, it's like about knowing your person. So I'm generally more of a morning person. Mm-hmm. You're generally more of a night person. Yep. And so there's either two ways you can approach that. You can be like, well, why? I can be like, well, why aren't you more of a morning person? Or you could be like, why aren't you more of a night person? Or you adjust. Yeah. You adjust, like, okay, so I know that Nana's not much of a morning person, so maybe I'll get up and do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And then I know by the time she gets up and then she carries on, then in the evening she can do A, B, and C. Yeah. I mean, people forget, like, you're married to someone, but, like, it's a partnership. Yeah. They're not your enemy.
I think that's if that can get into people's heads early on, it's less likely that you're going to separate. Yeah. If you can really get onto how can we get back into being a team and, love each other and be nurturing. But sometimes there's too many of these little pettinesses that have happened, and then the grievances sit because what she's done there is plant a real big grievance.
That's a beef. Yeah. And then obviously there's going to be...
the family.
And the family as well, yes, absolutely. And going back to the thing that you said about being on a team, is like the whole point of having a team is that different people bring different skill sets. Like, you don't have a football team full of Messis or a football team full of Ronaldos. You have different people with different skill sets. So it's like you and your partner have different skill sets. Make sure that you're utilizing your skill sets to the benefit of your relationship.
Maybe one of the kids could just have woken him up.
No, they were really young. They're like, this was like 4. But no, a 4-year-old could wake daddy up.
Yeah, definitely. So then it's just not on her.
Yeah, this is your new task. You wake daddy up. Don't leave until... And the child will probably enjoy that.
Family is a team as well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
We deploy our boys to do various things.
Yeah. You're never too young to work. You're never too young to work. But on that note, that is today's For Evans Sake Daily. If you're still with us, thank you for sticking with us. Yes. We will be back tomorrow, same time, 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, feel free to comment and also follow us on our socials.
Add stories as well. Let us know what you would like us to cover.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day and we will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.